Hi, thanks for coming back to Leap Taken. If it's your first time here, welcome. And if you've watched any of my other videos, although small, because I'm just starting technically, I appreciate it. Thank you. Today I wanted to just talk about, and I have some notes here, I just wanted to talk about um, evolving in your craft, evolving in your spirituality, evolving in witchcraft. I know for me, I had to identifying myself first off as pagan. It started there. First, no, let's take it a step back. Wiccan, I recall doing that. And then I recall identifying myself as just pagan and then eclectic, uh, an eclectic witch, and then eventually just witch. And at this point, labels really don't matter, but I think as your craft, as your spirituality evolves, the labels do sort of matter. You start to care more about how you're identifying yourself or how you're identifying your spirituality. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. Um, I'm finding that, everything seems to be a trend. You notice there's a lot of, not a lot, but I've found some YouTubers who no longer identify as a witch. They don't want that identification, which, hey, you're allowed. You can call yourself whatever you want. They prefer, spiritualist alchemists. You're seeing other people who maybe are a little bit more popular leaving the witchcraft community altogether, opting to identify as Christian, and accepting the Christian faith. Again, no problem. That's on you. It's your spiritual path. It's personal. That's great. That's fine. But why I bring that up is because as you begin to grow and gain knowledge and practice magic specifically in any spirituality, I don't even just want to make it about witchcraft. I think the more you grow and, like I said, practice, you will find that you maybe labels aren't as important, or you might find it is, you want to have a distinction on what you represent and how you see yourself, how you want to present yourself to the world. It took me a long time to really just say, yeah, I practice witchcraft. To take it a step further, I would go ahead and just say, a cottage witch. I thought kitchen witch. I thought hedge witch, cottage witch. That would be me, because that's basically what I'm doing and what I've been doing all along. Just cottage witchery, and that I'm down for that. That's me all the way, and that encompasses a lot of things, because that's bringing in your hedge witch, your kitchen witch, folksy type magic, things like that. Um, and then I want to talk about, okay, branching out. So as I just said, I identify as a cottage witch. There was a time I wouldn't have, I probably would have thought that was a smaller scale, and at the time I had aspirations to, I don't know, grow into something more, but the term at the time, and I'm talking at the time meaning years ago, let's say 8 years ago, that would not have been appealing to me at the time. Um, but my thoughts on branching out is basically you just kind of got to live. You've got to get into it, you got to learn. Always, I still read books that come out. I don't read a lot of one-on-one. I might skim it because I'm just curious to know what's out there. But I still read. I like to read others' blogs. There's one blogger in particular who I love her format, and it just approaches it from it much. I think it appeals to my cottage witch, but she is just, she writes so beautifully, and she makes great videos, and that's the Witch of Lupine. Witch of Lupine. It's Lupine. I love her page, and I love the information she gives. It's very clear, very simple, but it's deep and it's thought provoking. On just to me, just managing your craft and self care and things like that, and learning more. I love her page for that. And I think if you're trying to broaden, she ties in, the latest thing she did is your ancestry, and she recommended taking maybe ancestry DNA, going there and getting a sample and coming back to find out where, more about who what makes up your DNA. Oh, I struggled. I've recently done mine, and that was right on time, because I realized that I have a very low percentage of Germanic roots. It's a very small percentage, very small. But I have a very high percentage of um, Ireland, Scotland, but it's more Wales, and then separately from that, uh, British. It's very high as well, and obviously the rest is going to be various African roots, hence the melanin. But yeah, but the percentages for the British was that was a little higher than Britain than I would think it would be. I know that I have lighter skin, and my father is very light, and his family, they're very light. But I didn't realize that it was that much. um, so yeah, but what I've done is I've been using that region, that area, and thinking about the pagan roots there, which is going to be your Celtic, and then the German side, I guess the Nordic. And I pulled out some runes recently during the new moon, and I just sort of wanted to use that energy, that brand new energy of the new moon, to get myself comfortable with runes as a way of divination. I definitely tarot. I'm here for it. Matter of fact, I use I use this particular deck. Love this. The Everyday Witch tarot cards. Let me see if I have the book. Hold on. This is what the cover looks like of the box that comes in. Just has nothing to do with what I'm talking about other than it's cool. These are my go-to cards right now. My other cards are still packed in storage, and I had to make a decision on which cards do you really, really, really want. So those are the ones I really, really, really wanted. So that's what I have. Branching out, like I said, so learning to evolve your craft, you have to branch out. You have to read more. You have to be open to different paths. Not that you're looking to change, or you're looking to even follow that particular path, but you might get some knowledge or something that might tick you off to something else. For me, that was alchemy. It's not a path, but it is what it is. It's its own thing. It's its own subject. It's not a religion, but understanding alchemy, universal laws, things like that. So that was something I was spending a lot of time studying, and that was great for my overall evolving of my own spirituality. Understanding about spirits and deities. I know a lot of people question, where do I fit deities in, especially if you're walking away from the big religions, that teach the Bible and the Quran or whatever you're saying. If you're walking away from the Judeo-Christian type things, then you might be a little bit more. The deity thing is going to be a big deal to you, because then there's a matter of, well, which one, and that can get confusing. And I belong to a lot of groups on Facebook, and you get a lot of newbies, witchcraft groups, by the way, and pagan groups or Wicca groups. And you get a lot of newbies, and they ask that question, which is a valid question. How do I know which deity to follow? And no one can really tell you that. You sort of just have to walk the walk and just remain open. I would do a ritual, a ceremonial ritual where you're trying to connect, and I would look for teas that would relax me. I would set the scene, candles, do maybe a ritual bath, so that you're inviting whatever deity that wants to make itself known to you, make themselves known to you. Maybe do a ritual or something like that. Pay attention to the astrological timing and the moon phase when you're doing so, especially if you have a hunch of a specific deity that you think might want to connect with you. Another thing is reading books, especially, you could be a guy, but feminine divinity, or things like that. The sacred feminine. Read books that are not feminist things. No, speaking from an esoteric spiritual point of view, you definitely want to read that. Again, this is evolving, expanding, and I'm just thinking of now different topics and subjects of the occult or esoteric that you want to read, or to study or to understand, videos, things like that, because it will broaden your craft as opposed to just thinking law of three. If you're Wiccan, the Wiccan read and things like that. Or if you're not, and let's say, you're more eclectic, like how I seem to operate, but you're taking a hodgepodge maybe from African traditional religions, and a little bit from, the neo-pagan philosophies. If you're kind of doing a hodgepodge of all that, maybe you want to mix it. I'm asking you to mix it up a little bit more. Learning about chakras, learning about, chakra healing, and just other ways of developing intuition. Barnes and Noble is great for this stuff. Obviously, you can go to Amazon as well. But if you have access to a Barnes and Noble, most of the ones I've come across have a cute little section. It's not very big, cute, but they'll have things talking about all of the things I'm talking about: the sacred feminine, intuition, becoming psychic, and understanding if you're psychic, things like that. Those are, I would say, get one of those books. Get a few that talk about this sort of stuff, and chakras, spirits, all of that, so that you can kind of broaden, and you're not just kind of a one-trick pony. You just know candle magic. It's a new moon. It's a full moon, but there's no oomph. There's no substance. So that's where all this other stuff comes in, because it gives your spirituality substance, and hence you evolve your craft, your witchcraft, your spirituality, so forth. And lastly, I want to say, as far as evolving, is keeping a journal that you can look back at. Obviously, you can use a grimoire, you can use a book of shadows, but for me, I would prefer a dedicated journal that I could look back and see how my spirituality has grown, how my craft has grown. And just be honest. You can, with yourself, and you'll be able to see it. Hopefully you are seeing growth. It's okay with having consistency, and if something's working for you, by all means continue to do so. But this is something where you can't know all that there is. There's always a little bit more. So why not, learn it? Why not go further in your study? So those are my thoughts on evolving your craft, evolving in your witchcraft, in your magic, and your spirituality. How to evolve a little bit more. So I'm just kind of sum up. Don't be afraid of labels, but don't get stuck in a label. Me, I identify as a witch, a cottage witch. I like that. Now, things might evolve down the road, and I might change that label for myself, but I'm pretty confident that I'll be holding on to it for some time. Doesn't mean that's all I'm about. I'm not a one-trick pony, because I've studied alchemy. I am studying about chakras, so more about that. So that's something very interesting to me right now, the sacred feminine, as well. And also always developing my intuition. There's a lot of blocks that we have. My glasses are slipping, mostly because I think I'm a little hot. I just came in from the store, started this video. There are a lot of blocks that, technology, life, kids, things like that, emotions. It's Mercury retrograde as I'm recording this. There's a lot that could get in the way of us being aligned with our intuition, and in tune, and listening, and trusting. So I always say, continue to study, continue to journal, continue to pay attention to your, the studying of developing your intuition. I know I do, because there's always something blocking, I feel like, and I've got to get past it. So you constantly are, practicing your grounding work, and working on how to deal with distractions and things like that. So that's something I think that's always a thing. And one more thing I just wanted to add about this is being solitary versus a community. or coven. I've never been in a coven. I've never had that experience. I've had online experience, not as in a coven, but I've only had online experiences. That's not true. Years ago, meetup.com, I found some practicing witches, and we would get together, and we never performed a ritual. No, not a formal ritual. We did celebratory things. I would say, but not really a ritual, to be honest. Not really. So, I've never had that experience. I think I'd like one day to have that experience. I'm not pressed about it. I like practicing as a solitary. I like the way I have things set up, and I like the way it works for me. And I guess I don't like having to explain what I'm doing to others. But it might be nice to share and to learn a little bit more too. So evolving for me might be maybe maybe having some not virtual but real life experiences with other witches. So that's something I might continue to work on myself for evolving. And I suggest maybe, for you, or conversely, if you are someone who is more community oriented, what happens if you spend a little bit more alone time, working solitary for a bit? Not for everything, maybe, but for some things, maybe you could evolve that way. Just, some suggestions and my thoughts on that. But hopefully you enjoyed this, and hopefully it was helpful. I wanted to keep it light, just some high level topics on how to evolve your witchcraft. I definitely don't mind going into this subject a little bit more, especially about things that I'm learning, like the chakras, for instance. All this time, I understand, but I'm getting a little bit more deeper. And the sacred feminine, I'm definitely, using, understanding it for healing purposes. So I will be happy to share more on these subjects and how I'll be evolving my craft, and definitely more on my cottage witchery. But thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll come back and check out some more videos. Thanks. Bye.